Are you free from the expectations of others? If not, it's time for you to be. Hi, this is Dr. Anita with another Diamond Moment. The diamonds of our lives are produced through time, heat, and pressure, but it is up to us to gather the value from these experiences in order to grow. If these messages have been beneficial to you in any way, please like, subscribe, share, and comment. I really do want to hear from you. In the previous podcast, we were talking about the 4D. I gave you some real life information on me and what I began to pick up, which was not acceptable in my own life, which caused me to do some very difficult evaluations of my own belief system, of who I envisioned myself as being and what I wanted to take forward into my future. And I'm hopeful that the foundation that we built over 100 episodes that we've done have given you the wherewithal to tell yourself the truth. If you can't be truthful with yourself, who will be? So much of our lives, of our reality, is based in the belief systems that we've had that are antiquated. They do not fit who we are today. They are not a part of who we want to be. They are no longer appropriate for where we are in life. And many times we feel as though I owe this to mom, or I owe it to dad, or I told my grandmother that I would always. And those people have long since transitioned from this life. And yet you're holding on to antiquated ideas, and I can't get that across more strongly. You're holding on to antiquated ideas that no longer function in a time where we have AI, in a time when we can go online and research and find any topic pretty much that we can think of, where we can actually educate ourselves, and many times to a very high degree. So when we're looking at people who did not have this broad a worldview, who didn't have the information that we have, who had to sometimes wait weeks or months to get news and information to enlighten and inform their own lives, and yet we're still living our life in lives of the times that they lived in. I don't believe that anyone who stood for any level of positioning yourself in life and moving up would agree that you stay ignorant because your foundation may not have had the information that they needed. In other generations, they fought to get knowledge. They fought to get information. They fought for rights. They fought for the ability to learn, to grow, to become who they want to be. And so when we allow ourselves to remain stuck in the past and not be able to take advantage of what was many people died in order to give us, we're doing not only them a disservice, but we're giving ourselves a disservice. We're living in a time that no longer exists, and it is time to move forward. Sometimes I feel as though I need to be extremely cautious and kind. And I tell people all the time, sometimes people just need to hear the truth. Sometimes you're trying to be so politically correct until they're not able to discern what you're saying, what the actual message is behind the statements that you're making. So I want you to dig deeply, to listen deeply, and ask yourself if this fits. Have you been waiting on someone to die literally die so that you can be yourself? Have you been waiting on that limiting person to no longer draw breath in the land of the living so that you can feel free to be who you are? And if that is the case, you need to look deeply and determine whether or not that's the way you want to live. I've had people that I knew who postponed their lives, feeling as though when this person or that person passes away, I'll be able to do this or have this. I remember many years ago, I worked with a young lady, and she would daydream out loud in the break room of our job and talk about when her mother passed away. She would have furs and she would have jewelry and she would have all this stuff, looking at her life in light of what she would receive when someone was dead. And as we moved through, she I don't know what she did or whether she was able to accomplish those dreams on her own, but I did find out a few years ago that this person, her mother, that she was waiting on to die so she could inherit her diamonds and her furs, was still alive. Now, I surely hope that as young as she was at the time, she didn't hold on to that antiquated idea and limit her own life, that she actually found out, I can work, I can get what I need, I can buy what I want, I can do what I want, I can live my own life, and it's not attached to, I won't be able to have it until somebody dies. There's another side to that coin, and that is being afraid to stand up and be who you are, being limited by someone else's limiting concepts on who you should be. I think I shared this once before in one of the early episodes of the podcast, but I met a young lady who was a premature baby. And we met after she was 21, 22 years old. She was still living at home. She really had not established her own personal self. She never had a long-term romantic relationship, and she viewed herself through her mother's eyes. Okay, again, she was a premature baby. When we would go and eat our lunches, I noticed that the young lady was very thin. She was not a large framed person, but she was very thin. And she shared that her mother would fix her lunches. And in sitting there eating with the rest of the group, I noticed that she would have like 2 Vienna sausage and maybe 4 crackers and a piece of cheese. And I realized her mother had never seen her as a 21, 22-year-old woman who needed more than 2 Vienna sausage and 4 saltine crackers and some cheese to be able to sustain her body and to build physical health. Now, as a result of what she was eating, she still looked premature. She still looked as though she was not developed. She didn't have a fullness of a female body. And I understand everybody is built differently. Some people have athletic frames. You know, we know the apple body and the pear body and all of that. But this woman had never developed. Why? Because the person who was giving her sustenance was still viewing her as though she was premature and could only eat a few ounces of food. So why am I telling you this? I'm telling you this because many of you are still living that level of control in your life, that you have not taken control of your own life, that you are still relying on someone else's view of you to determine who you are. Taking it back to 3D. 3D being a linear thought pattern. Life, birth, life, and then death. And what takes place in those spaces. Bringing it up to 4D, where you realize there's something more to life. There's something more that I'm not getting. There's something more that other people are experiencing. I am seeing things differently. Somehow or another, a ray of light has come in, and now I view life differently from the way that I did before. The young lady who was born premature met a young man, and he began to show her that she was a person of value. She was an attractive girl. She was just held back with a limiting concept of who she was. He began to speak into who he saw her as. As a result, she determined that maybe they would do well in an ongoing long-term relationship. They ended up moving in together. And once they moved in together, he began to encourage her to eat more because he couldn't live his life on 2 Vienna sausage and 4 saltine crackers and some cheese. And as a result of that, the young woman actually began to finally physically develop. She began to put on weight in the areas that are typical to estrogen producing females, and her whole look changed. When her look changed, her outlook changed. When she began to get out of the claw grasp of somebody who was still requiring her to live like she was premature, she finally developed. She began to see herself differently. That is the aspect of 4D that allows you to change the limiting beliefs and to come up and move towards a 5D spiritual experience of life. If you have not taken the time to question what's going on around you, why am I continuing to stay connected to belief systems that are absolutely not me? Why am I doing that? What is it? Who is it that I think needs to die before I can stand up and say, that's not for me. It won't ever be for me. I don't ever want this in my life. This is not representative of who I am or who I see myself as becoming. When we're able to do that, when we're able to enter into becoming is a process, and that process has stages, we have a better concept of what it means in 3D, what it means moving to 4D and having a spiritual experience, becoming spiritually aware to what's taking place around us so that we can move into a different dimension of light and of love and of acceptance and of peace, and that acceptance being not just others, but also ourselves. We have to move forward into a place of becoming. Again, becoming is a process, and a process has stages so that we can become who we were meant to be. What we were meant to be. Do what we were meant to do. Fulfill ourselves outside of a belief system for someone who could not possibly know what your higher self, God, creator, source, universe, has placed for you, that you determined from eons ago that you were going to come here to accomplish. So begin to open your mind and your thoughts to understanding that principle of 3D, a 4D awakening, and moving you towards a 5D spiritual life of love and fulfillment and service and benefit. Once again, Becoming is a process, and that process has stages. We're at the end of the year. We're at a place where usually people determine that they want to change their existence from what it was in the last 365 days, looking towards the new year with the Gregorian calendar of a new 365 days. If you haven't done so, I invite you to get a Diamond Journey journal and begin that process. The journal will start whenever you get it. This episode is evergreen, as they call it. Whenever you hear it, it should be able to resonate with you regardless of what's going on in the world around you. And it's the same way with the Diamond Journey journal. That journal, whenever you get it, you're able to start on that day and determine what you want for your life. Maybe your focus is physical. Maybe your focus is financial. Whatever your focus may be, if it's not spiritual or emotional or social, whatever your focus may be, the journal is designed to help you to reach your goals and your desires. If you haven't done so yet, please visit my website, www.DrAnitaMc.com. That's DrAnitaMc.com. Join me on NoomVibe and on FanBase. As I've been saying, I'm going to begin in this new year doing some different things there, and hopefully you will become a part. Really hold tight in your heart that becoming is a process. That process has stages, but you will never become if you don't ever start.